Education choice and how to fund it took center stage during this last legislative session, I should say. Remember the education savings accounts? Well, that plan failed. And for many, the problem was a lack of oversight in both curriculum and in the finances. But there's already an education fund, which is already on Idaho's books, which is now having to have its books examined. The Empowering Parents program. They were grants that were meant to help families acquire educational tools for their kids, which was a big help during the pandemic, and apparently a little loose with the oversight. Joe Paris tells us a state review of the program is now ramping up after some purchases were flagged.
In recent years, the state of Idaho has rolled out a few programs that gets money to Idaho families to help them cover learning costs for their students. In 2020, the Strong Families, Strong Students program was launched to help address challenges the COVID pandemic had on students learning from home. Grants were sent to eligible families to help them buy things like computers, software, other devices for learning, maybe even internet, instructional materials. You get the idea. The popular program inspired another COVID-era idea, the Empowering Parents program. Like the Strong Families, Strong Students program, Empowering Parents, it sends Idaho families with students funds that can be used to purchase educational goods and services. And the idea here is to take on COVID learning loss. So families are eligible for grants up to $1,000 per student with a maximum award of $3,000 per family. And those grant dollars are used in an online marketplace where families can get supplies and educational materials. Idaho law surrounding this program makes it clear. Money has to be used on eligible education expenses. Idaho Code 33-1030 gives a definition in detail on what is and is not eligible. And since programs like Empowering Parents have rolled out, there's been fair questions about who's keeping track and if all dollars are going to eligible purchases. Now, the Office of the State Board of Education says they're conducting a review of purchases made with the grants. Back in mid-February, State Board staff says that they noticed some purchases for things such as clothing, televisions, and smartwatches, as well as household cleaning supplies, appearing to not be eligible. So, what happens now? Well, a spokesperson tells me the board office is undertaking this review and its responsibility to administer the program using a third-party vendor to manage and operate the platform where Empowering Parent Grants funds are expended. And that third-party vendor is called Odyssey, and they have a contract with the state of Idaho to run the online marketplace. I reached out to Odyssey for comments and to find out how they deal with claims and oversight of misuse of dollars. They were not able to respond immediately, so we'll circle back to them. But my question, what happens to families that did break purchase rules, either unintentionally or on purpose? Now, State Board of Education, they point me to Idaho Code 33-1031, and it says, quote, if a parent is found to misuse grant funds, then neither the parent nor another parent of a student living in the same household may apply for a grant in the future for any student, provided that the parent may appeal the finding to the board. So I reached out to the State Superintendent of Public Instruction's office for a reaction to this whole thing, and they tell me, quote, we were first contacted about this Friday afternoon and reached out to the board to learn more. We'll continue to stay in touch as they look into the matter. And we saw your comments and questions about the grants and the oversight when these programs have been rolling out over the last few years. So now we're coming back to this, and this is kind of why we're bringing you the story, is in terms of the oversight, here's what it looks like. Now, I just want to mention, though, just last week an announcement about the future of this program, the Empowering Parents Grant, well, it was made, and it's going to continue with more applications and millions of dollars being available this fall. So, Brian, there's a countdown now on another round of grants that I've spoken to families in Idaho. They say the grants have been very helpful, and they've been able to get learning materials for their kids, their students at home. The question is, though, as the State Board of Education, is they're going to look at some of the spending and the oversight. It makes you wonder if it'll make the legislature or Idahoans kind of squeamish when we have more programs like this, i.e. ESAs.
How widespread are we looking at here with this audit?
Right now, they're just getting into the review. At this point, they're going to figure out exactly what the scope of it looks like. Again, back in February, they started to notice, hey, maybe that purchase isn't eligible. That one's not either. I did reach out to the third-party vendor that actually has a contract with the state of Idaho. I reached out to them to try to get some more information. What does their process look like on the back end? Did not immediately get a response back, but would love to circle back to see, who's watching all of this.
But ultimately, this is kind of how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
There's a question, somebody goes, that doesn't look right, and they look into it.
Checks and balances.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe.